Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Alderman Strelchuk?
Here.
Alderman Bushy?
Here.
Alderman Meyer?
Here.
Alderman Hancher?
Here.
Alderman Garrow?
Here.
Alderman Parrish?
Here.
Alderman Schneider? Here. And Mayor Nervin.
Here. First up, we have a public hearing, ordinance 2022-1624, ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Mequon Municipal Code to rezone a property located on the north side of Donges Bay, approximately 800 feet west of Wauwatosa Road, from R3C2 to R3C2 with the transfer of development rights and PUD overlay to allow for a 17-lot single-family cluster development. This is recommended by the Planning Commission on May 23rd. First reading at Common Council on June 14th, just a month ago. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
Move to go into public hearing.
A motion and a second to go into public hearing. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are in public hearing. Is there any comment on this item from the public? Hearing none. Is there a motion to close public hearing?
Move to close public hearing.
Second.
The motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are back as the council. And we'll take up this ordinance for consideration immediately. Is there a motion or to approve?
Motion to approve ordinance 2022-1624.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, well, there's a second. So now the item is on the table for discussion. Is there any discussion on this matter?
I have a question.
Alderman Parrish.
These lots are approximately like 0.25 acres, correct? What's the average lot size of all the houses to the north again? Aren't those all half acre?
We tried to emulate as best we could. I could pull up the
Have it. Doesn't say
map
that.
of the screen here for you. So we tried to emulate the CGO as best we could. The lots are typically right around 18,000 square feet. The reason why they are smaller than typical is the use of the 5 TDR credits. So you have to remember that 5 of those 25 acres are being preserved basically just to the south of this. And the Planning Commission felt that the additional density was warranted because of the use of those TDR credits. So we got everything. This plan is what was asked for by staff and the Planning Commission, except there's a little bit of a wider buffer that's required down in this area right here.
That's an important matter to keep in mind when considering this site, is those TDR credits. This consumes 5 of the remaining 6. So there'll only be 1 left after this is done. But those credits were granted in exchange for preserving land elsewhere. So we need to use them, or we're not holding up our end of the bargain. Any other comments? Seeing none, let's call roll on this one.
Alderman Strelchuk?
Aye.
Alderman Bushy?
Aye.
Alderman Meyer?
Aye.
Alderman Hancher?
Aye.
Alderman Garrow?
Aye.
Alderman Parrish?
Aye.
Alderman Schneider? Aye.
That ordinance is approved. Next, we have personal appearances and public comment. Citizens wishing to address the Common Council on any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time. If you desire to be heard on the agenda items, you may be heard when those items are considered on the agenda. Please speak in the microphone at the podium. Time limit is 5 minutes. We have 1 person registered to speak. Mr. David Schlageter.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I represent a bunch of people who live on Freistadt Road, and I am not bringing up the development that is being built on Freistadt and Villa Grove. Instead, I'm asking the city council to consider the fact that Villa Grove Park we are spending a lot of money promoting the park. We have new signs, we have a new launch. the Parks Commission went out and took out a bunch of trees, replaced them with 16 brand new specimen trees, and the park is getting a lot of attention. The issue is, at the Planning Commission that we had before, we raised it with the engineer of the city, and they said, well, it's a 20-foot wide road. It's no different than any other road. And I would take issue with the fact that it is exactly 20 feet wide. There is no shoulder on either side. There's a culvert on the west side where the development will be, and then there's the river course on the other side. And that road is basically a giant sidewalk for all the neighborhood to walk down. There are people walking with their kids. They're riding their bikes, and it's a great entrance to it. But at the same time, you have cars going in, and you have trucks towing boats. And at any one time, two vehicles cannot pass one another without a safety issue. And then the pedestrians need to scatter. So at issue here is you now have a development coming in, and I'm happy to have them build there. But they're going to take about 2 years to have heavy construction equipment going down Villa Grove Road too. So at some point, the city needs to instruct the engineering department to examine this road to make it safe for pedestrians and traffic to go back and forth on the road. And at this point, it would be nice that you might consider a bike pedestrian trail not on the road. But at this point, if anybody who has history with this city will know that was a gravel road, and I've lived in the same place, and then they paved it. It's not really a city road, no matter what the engineers say. I know there were commissioners who questioned this. It seems that there's no plan, as I said at the Planning Commission, to deal with this road. And I would say you probably need to deal with this 2 years down the road, but I would like the city council to at least instruct the engineering department to start an investigation and do improvements on this road. Because right now, it is a risk to pedestrians to be walking up and down that road on a daily basis. And that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Schlager. Next, we have public officials reports. I have none. The city administrator has a rather important one to make.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. A couple of items tonight. First off, last month, as noted in the weekly update, the city received the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award from the Government Finance Officers Association. Within the awards program, the annual budget must be rated proficient in 14 criterion across 4 categories. The recognition by GFOA reflects a commitment to the highest principles of governmental budgeting, and this year was the 14th consecutive year that the city received this award. So a big congratulations goes out to the finance department staff as well as members of the Common Council and other staff that were involved in the development of the city's 2022 annual budget. On an unrelated note, July 1st was the start date for the Southern Ozaki Fire Department to begin operations as one unit. And while the Southern Ozaki Fire Department is not official until January 1st of next year, the 2 departments, Mequon and Thiensville, are now operating under one schedule and as one staffing team. You'll recall that Mequon and Thiensville approved the intergovernmental agreement establishing the Southern Ozaki Fire Department earlier this spring. And with the recent retirement of Chief Brian Riles from Thiensville last month, our chief, City of Mequon Fire Department Chief David Bialk, was sworn in as the Thiensville chief last month. So he now oversees both departments, and they are operating under one schedule and as one staff going forward through to January 1st. As of January 1st, the Southern Ozaki Fire Department will become official, and the department will be one unit operating under one combined budget, which will be then developed later this fall. Moving on, early in-person absentee voting will start later this month for the August 9th partisan primary. Registered voters may cast ballots here at City Hall on weekdays beginning July 26th. That'll carry through until Friday, August 5th, and that can be done between normal operating hours here at City Hall from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Lastly, and this is in reference to your comment, Mayor, we have several representatives from the Mequon Police Department here with us this evening. And if I rewind the clock just for a moment to the point where 3 years ago our current police chief, Pat Pryor, was hired, he was sworn in as Mequon's 7th police chief. And as someone who was involved in the interview process when the city was hiring Pat Pryor as our police chief, Chief Pryor committed to pursuing statewide accreditation through the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group before he was hired and then after he was hired. I'm happy to report here tonight that after 2 long years of work amongst Chief Pryor and Captain Riley, who's with us tonight, and others within the Mequon Police Department, we recently achieved accreditation through the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group. Mequon is now one of 46 agencies within the state of Wisconsin, law enforcement agencies, amongst over 540 in total that has received this recognition. And tonight we are joined by Glendale Police Chief Mark Ferguson, who is the president of the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group, who's here to present the award to Chief Pryor and Captain Riley. Chief Ferguson, would you come forward to the podium, please?
Good evening, Mayor Nurban and council members. I'd like to give a little presentation, a little background. My name is Mark Ferguson. I'm the chief of the Glendale Police Department. I'm also the current Wiley Ag president. Wiley Ag is a Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group. A little background on accreditation so you get an understanding of what the Mequon Police Department really had to go through. Accreditation is a very progressive and time-proven way of helping institutions evaluate themselves and go through best practices in whatever their field they're at. The Wisconsin Law Enforcement Accreditation Group was developed through an initiative of the Wisconsin Chiefs of Police Association and started back in 1996. The basis of our standards came from CALIA, which is the national method, or the national standards. And what Wiley Ag was trying to do was develop a cost-affordable program for Wisconsin agencies that were related directly to Wisconsin challenges, not necessarily a national program. We're very happy with the progression, how it's gone. Again, our first edition standards were developed in December 3rd, 1996. Well, Wiley Ag accreditation is a voluntary program. That's very important. Agencies aren't mandated to do this. They volunteer to go through this. They are evaluated on standards that demonstrate, and they have to demonstrate compliance with those standards. So they are evaluated every 3 years by a group of trained assessors from outside agencies. The 5th edition standards, which Wiley Ag, or which Mequon went through this time, contain 242 standards, which also includes 602 separate dimensions. So there are 602 specific items that the Mequon Police Department have to have a policy on and demonstrate proof of compliance that they follow that every 3 years in that regard the best practices in policy and procedure, administration, operations, and support services. So it's a lot of work. My agency has been accredited for quite a few years. It is not a one and done. It is not something that you assign someone to do for a couple weeks to get it done. It is a continuous operation. One of the nice things about accreditation I like to tell people about is it's not just a policy manual, that you actually have to prove that you're doing what you say you do every year. So that's a lot of work to gather those proofs. But from an organizational point of view, it is excellent opportunity for you to make sure that you're doing the right thing, that your people are following your best practices, and that you're moving forward and always staying ahead of the curve. So it's a very time-consuming, a very difficult program, but it reaps a lot of benefits for the agency. A couple of the benefits of accreditation: it does promote excellence and professionalism within law enforcement and their own agency. It's an enhanced sense of professionalism and pride for the agency personnel. There's confidence that your agency is functionally compliant with their standards through an independent review and evaluation. There's confidence that your agency is well managed and has best practices in their policies and procedures. And those best practices can help reduce liability and may actually give you a savings on your insurance costs. It's also it's a good network and collaboration with other agencies throughout the state that are following the same best practices. As you alluded to before, this is not an easy process. Mequon is one of, it's actually, we have two programs, but one of 41 agencies in the state that have achieved full accreditation, and there are 564 law enforcement agencies. So it is definitely the cream of the crop to be able to get that. It's a lot of work. They spent a lot of work doing this, and excited that they were able to do it. They had a Wiley Ag assessment, on-site assessment on April 5th through 7th, in which we had 3 trained assessors come in and spend 3 days with the Mequon Police Department, in which we looked at all their policies and their procedures for their standards. We made sure they had all their proofs of compliance. We rode along with them. We talked to the employees. It wasn't just a paper review. We kind of turned their department upside down, and they did an excellent job. The team leader writes a report and does a presentation in front of the Wiley Ag Board. And on June 17th of this year, the Wiley Ag Board did approve to accredit the Mequon Police Department for a 3-year term under the 5th edition. They receive their status award. They get their nice certificate. They will also be recognized with the other agencies that receive accreditation at the Chiefs Winter Conference, which is the biggest conference for the Chiefs of Police in the state of Wisconsin. So they get some more recognition from there. And the good news for them is that we're always developing our new standards. They get to start right away on the 6th edition standards, which they used to have to worry about 602 things to work on. Now they have 262 standards and 655 actual dimensions to work on. So the standards grow, they get continuous, they get better, and so the job ahead of them continues, and I feel very confident that they will be up to the task and do a good job. So congratulations, Chief. Thank you.
I'd just like to take a minute to say thank you again. Thank you to the support of the city and the council. A special thank you to Captain Riley. He was really the team lead on getting this accomplished. It was a large and busy and time-consuming task. Officer Kirsten James, who has to be sleeping right now because she comes on duty in about 4.5 hours, was also a big contributor to this. She worked on this project for about the last 12 months, almost nonstop. And so between the Captain Riley and Officer James, the two of them reached out to the rest of the agency, and we all collaborated together and were able to get the job done. So I'm very proud to accept this for the city and for the department. It's truly an honor to be up here in front of you today. I appreciate the support and the community support that we get is outstanding here in Mequon, and that just continues to show what a good community that we have. So thank you everybody for this award and for taking the time to recognize our department tonight. Thank you.
Fantastic achievement, Chief. It really highlights the department's commitment to professionalism and operating at the highest standards, and it really reflects well on the city as a whole. So we really appreciate your hard work, and I know you look forward to more hard work, because hard work is rewarded with more hard work. But I know you'll do great. Thank you. Next up, we have the consent agenda. We have 11 sets of minutes from various boards and commissions, and one resolution, Resolution 3963, approving a development agreement for the green at Mequon, a 7-lot conservation subdivision in the southwest corner of Villa Grove and Friedstadt. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is? Move an item. Second. A motion and a second. Hearing no discussion, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes. Opposed. I wanted to remove item L and vote on that separately.
Would you like to back it up? I'm
Yes.
willing to entertain it. Okay, so we'll have functionally approved the minutes from the meetings. We will remove resolution 3963 for discussion. Is that okay to do procedurally? Just undo what we did.
And I would vote aye in favor of the rest of the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Unless you
Okay,
like-
let's vote on items A through K, just so it's totally clear. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Now we'll take up item L, resolution 3963.
Yeah, and just a brief statement on why I pulled that back off. You know, I think this is gonna pass tonight, and I think the developer's done a nice job of putting together the best foot forward for this piece of land. However, I did struggle with the density on this parcel, the removal of a couple specimen trees, and then the Villa Grove Road width, and not having that widened up to the subdivision, which is why I voted no for it at Planning Commission. I'm voting no on that tonight based on those premises that didn't get changed between now and then.
Thank you, Alderman Strelchek. Any other comments on this item before we take it up? Seeing none,
A
is there a
separate
motion?
motion on this? Do we need a separate motion on this?
I think we do, yeah, separate motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
I think there's one opposed. Next, we have ordinance first readings. So I'll hit these in order here quickly. Ordinance 2022-1625, an ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Mequon Municipal Code relating to maintenance responsibilities and green infrastructure requirements in connection with the city's certification of stormwater facilities. This is recommended by the Planning Commission on June 27th. This is the first reading. Ordinance 2022-1626, an ordinance amending Chapter 58 of the Mequon Municipal Code to allow event planning services with facilities as a permitted use within the Town Center zoning district. This was also recommended by the Planning Commission on June 27th. Ordinance 2022-1627, an ordinance repealing and recreating Section 2-63D of the Mequon Municipal Code relating to mayoral and aldermanic vacancies. Recommendation forthcoming by the Public Welfare Committee tonight. The recommendation was?
They approved it or recommended approval, subject to one change, which includes a reference to the acting mayor and the kind of succession that is in place for that position.
Okay, thank you. That's it for ordinance first readings. Next, we have ordinances. We have none, which brings us to resolutions. Resolution 3964, resolution approving adoption of the City of Mequon strategic plan for 2022 through 2025.
Motion to approval?
Second.
Motion and a second. This was also recommended earlier this evening by the Committee of the Whole. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The strategic plan is adopted. Resolution 3965, a resolution authorizing execution of a professional services agreement for Phase 1 planning for an enterprise land management system with the Vero Advisors of Maryville, Tennessee, in the amount not to exceed $42,800. This was recommended earlier this evening by the Finance and Personnel Committee.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
That resolution passes. Resolution 3967, resolution approving the purchase of 2 Ford Police Interceptor Sport Utility Vehicles from Ewald Automotive, Hartford, Wisconsin, and installation and purchase of associated equipment from General Communications of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the total amount of $87,714. Recommendation is forthcoming from the Public Safety Committee. Was there a recommendation?
It was recommended unanimously, and I move approval.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Please call the roll on this item.
Alderman Meyer,
Aye.
Alderman Hancher,
Aye.
Alderman Garrow,
Aye.
Alderman Parrish,
Aye.
Alderman Schneider,
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
And that resolution passes as well. Resolution 3968, a resolution approving the purchase of a fire department ambulance from Lifeline Emergency Vehicles of Middleton, Wisconsin in the amount of $296,511. Recommendation forthcoming by the Public Safety
This was
Committee.
also recommended unanimously, and I move approval.
Motion and a second? Is it?
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Alderman Hancher. Is there any discussion on the ambulance? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Alderman Hancher,
Aye.
Alderman Garrow,
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider,
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
And Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
That resolution passes as well. Next, we have specified unfinished business from prior meetings. So Alderwoman Schneider is going to give us an update on Ordinance 2021-1594, which you may recall is our ordinance to reduce the lot sizes you're able to have chickens on, and she has good news, I think.
I just wanted to get this in the minutes because some of my colleagues asked for an update after a year after this was passed, and the Planning Commission did not recommend it. So 13 families asked for permits to raise chickens on their land. And of those 13, 9 of them had properties less than our previous 1.5 acres. And of those people who are raising chickens, there have been no complaints.
Not so much as a peep
No
from
peeps.
any resident.
No clucks, no peeps.
I couldn't resist. Thank you for the update. That's certainly good news. I'm glad to hear it's going well. Oh, come on, that was a good one.
That was outstanding.
Next, we have specified new business. We have 2 appointments. Alderman Garrow to fill in temporarily on the Public Works Committee until we can fill the vacancy from my old district. And appointment of Bruce Barnes to be the 4th alternate on the Planning Commission. Is there a motion?
You need those in one or 2 motions?
You can do them together if you'd like.
I'll make a motion to approve both of those.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Don't you have to recuse yourself? I'm just kidding. Alderman Parrish.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Common Council President, expend our appreciation to Alderman Garrow for stepping up on the Public Works Committee, and to Alderwoman Schneider for sharing the additional responsibilities on Economic Development Board. So we're making the best of it. So thank you both.
Fantastic. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those appointments are official. Lastly, we have 2 potential closed sessions. First, Monsanto lawsuit. Common Council may enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 18.85 Prin 1 Prin G for the purposes of conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is involved, and then may re-enter into open session to take such action as it deems appropriate. We'll vote on these separately. Is there a motion to go into closed session for this item?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 You
So-
need to do a roll call. Sorry.
You want to do a roll? Oh, we need to
Have
do a
to.
roll call. Okay, we'll do a roll call.
Okay, so
Alderman Parrish,
Aye.
Alderman Schneider,
Aye.
Alderman Strelchak.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Aye.
Alderman Meyer,
Aye.
Alderman Hancher,
Aye.
Alderman Garrow,
C.
and Mayor Nurbin.
Aye. So that is approved. Next, we have a potential closed session for legal services RFP. The Common Council may convene in the closed section pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 19.85 Prin 1 Prin C for the purposes of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public official over which governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and Wisconsin Statutes 19.85 Prin 1 Prin E for the purposes of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, and then may reconvene into open session to take such action as deemed appropriate. That's a mouthful. Is there a motion to go into closed session on this item?
Move to go into closed session.
Motion and a second, and we'll take another roll call.
Alderman Schneider,
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk,
Aye.
Alderman Bushy,
Aye.
Alderman Meyer,
Aye.
Alderman Hancher,
Aye.
Alderman Garrow,
Aye.
and Alderman Parrish, and Mayor Nervin.
Aye. I do not believe we are anticipating a return. That does either the city administrator or the city attorney disagree with that? I don't anticipate returning. Maybe. we
It'll
may.
depend on what action takes place on A.
Okay, so we'll leave the possibility open, but we're going to disappear for a few minutes, and we may or may not return. Well, we'll have to return to formally adjourn.
What? We're gonna go into the.
I'm immature for my age.
Well, we're just talking about, should we vote to go back into open session, or is it just assumed that we will?
I've been accustomed to voting to go back into
That's
open
why.
session.
Okay. Then we'll do it.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Makes you comfortable, it's probably right.
I like that.
All right.
All right.
Move to go back in open session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to go back into open session. I think we should call the roll on this too.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
Alderman Bushy.
Here.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
All right, the matter back before us in open session is on the Monsanto lawsuit. I think the decision we arrived at was to participate in the class action, but object to the scope, in hopes that others will object to the scope and the judge will potentially modify the terms of the class action. That objection being that it's a calculation based off of stormwater runoff, and it's really scope. It covers everything regardless of where it happens. So I think that sufficiently summarizes what we've discussed, and we will take a vote on that matter with a roll call here.
I make a motion to that matter.
Second.
A motion and a second, even better. Now we can really take a vote on it. With the objection, yeah, as probably poorly stated by me. Staying in the class, but objecting to the settlement, terms of the settlement.
And authorizing the city attorney to drop that.
Correct.
Correct. Back as needed.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the outside? Hearing none, let's call the roll.
Alderman Bushy.
I'll change my here to an aye.
Alderman Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Hancher.
Aye.
Alderman Garrow.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Alderman Schneider.
Aye.
Alderman Strelchuk.
Aye.
That matter passes. We just need one more motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, camera crew, for sticking around.